Season 6, baby. Season 6
Yeah.
in the box.
That's a wrap.
In the box? In the box, not in the bag?
In the bag. There we go. That was the phrase I was trying to go for.
In the box.
I think in the box
In the
works.
box.
Let's
In the
normalize
box.
that, guys. In the box. Hello and welcome to Saving People, Queering Things, the supernatural podcast where there are winners and also losers. That's right, it's your favorite episode of the season. Today we're recapping the entire season 6 and handing out awards to characters from this season of Supernatural. I'm Noah, my pronouns are he, him.
I'm August, pronouns they, them.
And I'm Sam, my pronouns are they, them.
And my question to kick things off today
Which is actually my question. I just put it in the document. No one's going to read it, but it was the question that I put in the document. I can explain this question too. Why don't you read it and then I'll explain what the question means.
If you could add one inconsequential episode to this season, what would it be?
So the criteria for this is you're adding an episode, but it can't change the main plot. It can't totally negotiate what the season is about.
I'm gonna add an episode where Cass decides not to become God. No.
Yeah, you can't change the plot, the main plot. But if you could add an episode as a one-off, what would you add?
Okay.
Extra points if it's
heartbreaking,
silly and or goofy.
Oh,
I mean, heartbreaking also works.
Well,
okay.
August, I feel like you've got to answer this question first, since you're the one that came up with it and I'm the one that asked it.
I think that we should have had a full episode of Dean and Lisa and Ben doing family things. I think we should have had them going bowling, and I think we should have had more than a brief little montage. We should have had a full episode of them just doing fun stuff, and bonus points. You could have used that to sneak in some of the cast stuff. You could have given us some more stuff, but just give us a fun episode with them. That's more than 2 minutes in the premiere.
Maybe if they split the Cass flashback episode into 2 episodes and intercut Cass's story with what Dean was doing at that time when Cass was having that journey.
Ooh, that'd be good.
And it's not strictly necessary, but it would have been really fun.
And it would have provided a levity to those episodes, which I guess would have undercut the whole Cass
also would
episode.
Have made the next episode more brutal. So it answers it both makes it both a fun, silly episode, but also a heartbreaking episode if it comes right before the final Lisa Ben episode.
Okay. Shit.
Or adding on to that, I mean, this would also be heartbreaking and sad, but having an episode or half an episode where we see Ben and Lisa after they have their memories gone.
Oh,
it's been really helpful to
just to be where are they now? Are they okay? Where did they end up? What are they doing?
Okay, but what if it's Cass checking in on them?
No.
Yes.
I don't think this is inconsequential territory anymore.
But You're right.
I do want you to elaborate on that. No,
that was just me doing some fan fiction live on the podcast. And if we had a Ben and Lisa appearance after the memory erasure, it would have been crushing to see Cass checking up on them and seeing if they are in any danger and if they need Dean or if they need their memories back or something like that. But that episode would have ended with a hint that Cass did give them their memories back. That would have been terrible, because then they still wouldn't have shown up later on. So
right. No.
I hate it.
Yeah, I do hate that.
What could be an inconsequential episode?
Okay, what I would have loved,
something with Bobby just doing something daily stuff,
another weekend at Bobby's.
Yes,
but less important,
but better. Less important and more fluff.
But what would have made it even better is if it had happened just before the episode where Rufus dies, and Rufus comes to Bobby and they do a little case together.
Full Rufus Bobby episode, but not a.
And it's focuses on them, and then the brothers show up in a phone call at one point needing backup on, or him to answer a phone call or whatever, and then so they're still in the episode, and it's okay, we see what they're doing, we get a little hint of that, but then we really get more feel about how Bobby and Rufus are close and they're partners, and it would have had to adjust some of the dialogue in the episode where Rufus dies because like they act like they haven't seen each other in a while because of him and his wife. But it could have, I mean, I guess it could have been a flashback to before Rufus, or maybe they do it at the beginning of the season before Rufus's wife has died, and maybe they work something in there. I don't know.
Or a flashback episode with Bobby and what's her face?
With Ellie, yeah.
Yes, Ellie.
That would have been cool too, to see their little relationship happening. How much did Bobby tell her back in the day? How much did she act like she didn't already know? Would have been very interesting and pretty inconsequential because we already got the gist of those relationships from later episodes.
Yeah.
So
it'd just be cute to see.
It would be
cute and some good background character. Next up, it is time for our final recap of season 6. So here's what you've missed on the road so far. And as always, because it's the end of the season, we're doing a special kind of recap. We're going to do season 6 according to one specific character. Who would like to go first?
I love that's the kind of Google search I do all the time. Noah just Googled season 6 episodes.
The first result was Game
literally
of Thrones.
like once a week I will like search season 6 episodes and they're like, what show, please?
Google is like, what show?
Was
Game
like
of Thrones,
any season
Better
6
Call
episode?
Saul, The Walking Dead, Miraculous Ladybug, Downton Abbey. None of these are what I'm looking for.
Does anyone have a character they would like claim or like know they want to do?
I mean, I feel like I always do Sam.
My heart wants to choose Bobby, but I feel like I do always do him as well. So what if we shift
what if we just switch
one to the left? Because August typically does Dean, but I feel like you might be leaning Cass this season.
I would happily do any of the trio this season.
Okay,
happily.
We're talking about a quadrilogy here. What do you call a trio with 4 people? Trio?
Not a trio.
That's cold in Spanish.
Nope.
A quad? It's a quad.
Okay, we're talking about a quad here, August.
Okay. But the thing is, I don't actually want to do Bobby. I would like to do
I could do Bobby.
Sam, Dean, or Cass. I'm sorry,
I could do Sam or Cass or Dean, but his is sadder, so I want to do Sam or Cass.
Okay, so the two of you seem to have more opinions than I do. I will take whichever one is left.
Okay, how about
I'll do Bobby.
Okay, Sam and I switch. August, you pick between
who are you
Dean
doing
and Cass. I'll do Sam.
Oh, okay. I pick between Dean and Cass. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I will do Cass.
You could do the couple. You could do Destiel as your pick.
Oh, yes. I will be doing the Destiel recap. That sounds great. I will be doing the Destiel recap. The season according to the Destiel of it all.
Okay. So who would like to go first?
Not I.
I will go first. The season according to Castiel. Okay. We're gonna just move around here.
Fuck it. Let's do it. Freestyle.
Fuck it, we ball.
Okay. I'll count you in. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so in the year that Sam was in the cage, Cass was making plans to fight Raphael, take over Heaven, and also secretly watching Dean on the down low because he didn't want to ask Dean for help. Then Sam comes back from hell, but he doesn't have a soul, and Dean and Cass are really trying to figure that out. It turns out that Cass is actually lying to them and then betraying them, and then they are very sad and they have a big breakup. And wow, that was 30 seconds is not a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time for the whole season.
No, it really is not. And I'm trying to recap a relationship.
And you're doing 2 people. Yeah, it's different.
You did sweating.
We support you.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Okay, Sam, you're up next, recapping Bobby and his whole situation this season. Are you ready?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Bobby has to try to get his soul back from from Crowley, and then he does that. Yay! And then he's also trying to just rein in the boys as he always is, and they're probably going to give him a heart attack at some point because he's like trying to support them, but they're kind of being idiots as always. And then his ex-boyfriend comes back into town, and they hunt together, and it's really great. And then his ex-boyfriend dies, and it's very, very sad.
Oof, too real. We respect it, and it was beautiful.
Too real. I feel like I missed some stuff.
And you missed one specific thing that in our episode on this topic we mentioned quite a lot. So I would feel remiss to Jamie of Driver Picks the Podcast if I didn't point out that Castiel fisted Bobby during the season, and we need to keep track of that.
Oh my god, I was not that episode. I forgot about that.
I was like, have you Sam of course has listened to this episode because you were you
I
proved
did.
it,
So funny.
I proofed it, but I think I did listen to that and appreciated it, but then it left me.
On purpose. You chose
On
to
purpose,
absolve
yes.
that memory. Yeah.
Yep.
And just for the listeners out there, just so you know, after we finished recording the episode, there was another 10, 15 minutes of Jamie and I making jokes that I had to cut out because it didn't make sense to be in the episode. But
Wow.
trust that those will show up in a bonus episode at some point.
Yeah. Or Patreon in the future? Question mark?
Ooh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, hey, listeners, pay attention to that. Let us know what you think about that. Okay, next up, it's me doing Sam's recap. So, Sam, will you count me in?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you ready?
Oh, totally.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so Sam starts the season with his soul in hell, and he's come back, but he's soulless, and he's like really ruthless and really brutal, and working with his shitbag grandpa Samuel. And so they're catching alpha monsters for Crowley. They're working for him, and then he finally goes back to Dean in the beginning of the season, obviously. But they work together, and then Dean does a deal with Death to get Sam's soul back. So then Sam's like, "Oh, I got it back. I don't remember anything." And then Cass spills all the beans, and then he goes and he has to get trapped inside his mind and gets his soul back. And
Amazing.
there's a lot that happened for Sam this season.
You really filled out a lot of that information though quite well. I'm impressed actually.
Yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you. That was a challenge that I don't want to have to do again about Sam. But now we get to move on to our highs and lows of the season. What were y'all's favorite, least favorite moments from this season? If you had to pick an episode to drop, if you had to pick an episode to elevate above the rest, what would it be? Or moments. It doesn't have to be a specific episode.
Ooh, okay. I think a high for me, and like this will come as no surprise, is The Man Who Would Be King. I just think like in terms of an episode, it's so well designed. Like like they've told this story all season. They've hidden so much information, and then that episode, through Cass's perspective, suddenly all the pieces sort of fall into place, like all the things we've been missing. And I think it's structured really interestingly, narratively, like the idea that Cass is talking kind of to the audience, but also kind of to God. It's like a beautiful episode. Also just has some of the best quotes, I think, of the entire show. It's like a perfect episode of Supernatural. And it's my high for this season.
I absolutely support that. That was a strong episode. Sam, what about you?
I mean, I not like a high for like plot or character too much, but I love The French Mistake. That's like one of my favorite episodes of all time, really, in the Supernatural. It's just, I don't know. I think it's hilarious.
It was such a great time. And our episode on that one was also a lot of fun to record. So
yes,
it was a bit of both. I love that. My high point of the season, and I don't know how anybody would doubt that this would be my answer. Weekend at Bobby's, an episode focusing on Bobby and how he runs his network and how he is striving to get his soul back from Crowley. It was just fantastic episode. I loved it very much. And I mean, both of y'all's answers, I would be like my next two in the list. They were both strong. The finale was also pretty strong, but Weekend at Bobby's holds a special spot in my heart, and I gotta respect that.
Oh yeah, I kind of expected that to be your pick. It's a very good episode. This season, I feel like is really a big range. Like really good episodes, and then some episodes that are really forgettable.
Yeah, I hear that. Okay, speaking of forgettable, what was the episode you could do without this season? Your low of the season.
I can't remember what it's called. The Lisa and Ben one.
Where they get their memories
wiped?
Let
It Bleed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Totally fair.
Rough.
Yeah.
Very sad.
I have so many issues with that episode. So I agree. I like that.
I think I'll go with an episode that didn't represent like a sad sort of low for me, but just represented like a sort of missed potential sort of episode. And that's episode 6, You Can't Handle the Truth.
Oh, yes.
We got a whole goddess of truth, and like you can't, and people can't lie, and they just kind of whiff it, what could have been so good. They kind of like half-ass it, and that was kind of a disappointing. I was more disappointed by this episode or this watch through than I think
I like that
any other episode. It was more of a like letdown from previous watches.
Yeah, absolutely. Missed opportunities there.
Okay, my low of the season, I wanted to mention All Dogs Go to Heaven simply because they used the title of a movie where the main character's name is Charlie, and they didn't introduce Charlie in that episode. So it let me down in a personal way. But that's not my real low point for the season. And that would have to be episode 12, Like a Virgin, because they brought in dragons and then didn't actually have them be dragons. They barely had them show
more missed opportunities.
scales. Missed opportunities is the biggest theme for this season, I feel like. And it hurts a lot. And they were just very underwhelming, slightly strong people. And like, okay, we've seen that before.
Like if you're gonna give us dragons, give us like something that actually even if they look like humans, like give us something that thematically feels like dragon.
Like if they brought in John Hurt and were like, this guy's a dragon, I'd believe that shit. Not like, only because he played the dragon in Merlin, but because that guy looks like he could be a dragon.
Right. Or like do some fun motif with fire, do something interesting.
Or like scales.
Or just so many, like, again, you're like, oh, this what could have been so good is sort of
really half-assed it.
In Baldur's Gate 3, there's a class where you can choose that your route that you follow as a sorcerer, I think, is like you can be the Cult of the Dragon type follower. And so you get like scales on your cheekbones. And like that's all they really needed to do is give us like something.
It wouldn't be that hard to do like a little bit of makeup.
A little bit of makeup. And it's got to be shiny and scaly.
It was not.
Nope. So yeah, that was my low point of the season. Any other low points that we felt important to mention?
I think, Balthazar. God. That's a low point, just like in terms of like, I think it makes sense plot wise. It's a fitting cost for sort of like something major has to happen in that episode.
With a big betrayal, it's got to have some big moral implications.
And Cass killing Balthazar is huge. But I did feel really sad about it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is the second super charismatic angel that has been butchered and tossed aside, supposedly to never return. But we know Gabriel's coming back. We know it.
I also in things that made me sad, but like Cass tearing down Sam's wall. Also just a really...
Oh my God.
It's a boundary that he shouldn't have crossed and yet did because he knew that would tear Dean down. And we respect that.
Well, you go like, that's the big betrayal.
Yeah.
More than the Balthazar one for the Winchesters, that's the big betrayal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like that's the line.
Balthazar knew the risks of his situation and
absolutely.
Sam would never assume that Cass would stoop that low.
Yes. Yeah, that's why it's so cutting, because you're like, this was the one thing he wasn't supposed to touch.
I absolutely agree. It was a low point of the season, but I think that it really lends a lot of credence to the idea that Cass has fallen so far.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He needed to do something big had to happen.
Yeah.
Like a big for us to really believe that like, wow, Cass has like gone dark.
Yeah.
He has to go dark. And that is a real indicator of like his moral compass is
way off. Yeah, I respect that. Well, now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's the most fantastic time of the episode. It's awards time! So here's how this is going to work. We're going to go category by category. Each of us will bring a nomination to the category, and we will argue their validity. And afterwards, we will all vote. If we get a three-way tie, we have to clarify and sort of tear down each other's nomination. And hey, sometimes it gets a little heated. We don't worry about it. We don't stress. It's all good.
We all love each other.
We all love each other.
But we also all want to win.
We also it might not sound like it this episode. Don't worry.
But sometimes it does, because I'm sure that there will be categories in here where two of us side against one person, two of the others side. Yeah, it'll get all flipped up. That's why I think 3 people is really great for the recap episodes, because you can't really have a good tie. Like if it's 2 against 1, this is great. I like it. But if any of the listeners at home disagree with any of our nominations or our winners, tweet at us, send us a message in our Discord, or I don't know,
carrier pigeon.
Email us. Oh, carrier pigeon. Yeah, that's perfect.
Email's probably about as likely as carrier pigeon, honestly.
Send us a voicemail.
Yeah. Yeah. Please voice your displeasure.
Please.
Or just your general, your feelings about these. Your other nominations, who we missed.
If you do, we'll give you a shout out at some point later on where we will say, okay, at Astral Spock on Twitter, you're so wrong about this opinion. Just
are you just saying that if
I was giving August a shout out on Twitter. Go follow Astral Spock.
Noah's example is like, yeah, if you send us a message, we're just gonna dump all over your idea.
If you come at us with a valid opinion, then we will be like, okay, at Sam, are you on Twitter? I was pulling up yours, but I don't think you're on Twitter. Okay, at 21 Devils. You know what? That's a good point you had. Okay, wait. I'm just gonna use Astral Spock again. At Astral Spock, that's a great point you had, and maybe we should have really paid attention to that character in this category, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Good call. And we will officially be not going back to our nominations to change them because the episode's already posted. But anyway, first category, we've got best one-off character. So this is the character who has shown up in one episode this season.
And they cannot be a preview. They cannot be a returnee.
Okay, see, that was my next question.
They have to be a one-off character. And as far as, again, like, I know if every character comes back or not, and Sam may or may not know. Noah does not know. So to the best of the current knowledge of the three of us,
this is their first and only appearance.
Yes, exactly. That's the criteria for this category.
Because I really wanted to bring Ellen to this category, but she's been in many previous episodes, so we won't be doing that. Who wants to go first?
I have an idea, but I just want to look at the list of characters for one sec, just so that I don't miss someone that is really obvious. I know who my vote is.
Oh no, my vote. I don't like how much you're laughing and how silly my first recommendation is.
Oh, my first one's so silly.
I know.
Hopefully we've not picked the same character.
But if we had, that's an easy end to the comment.
My nomination is Eric Kripke.
Ooh.
For his appearance, his brief appearance in French Mistake. I just think that, he came, he saw.
He died in the street.
Exactly. There we go.
Okay, well, I'll follow that up with my nomination because mine was Misha Collins.
Oh, yeah.
Same episode. He really came in and stole the show. And then he tweeted his actual tweets in the episode out to his actual Twitter.
Yeah.
He was involved in the episode in such a meta way. That was just beautiful. And I really loved it.
Misha's been playing that joke for 15 years now. It's kind of great.
Oh my God. Did that age you a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Shit. That hurts.
Yeah. I was like, not quite 15 years, but getting close to that now.
We're creeping up on it. I did also have another nomination that I wanted to bring out just because he's worth talking about because I loved him in this episode and not to
do it.
Not to harp on this one episode, but that one guy that dodged the bullets in the French Mistake?
Yeah. I don't remember who that was. It's supposed to be someone and I don't remember who it's supposed to be.
It was a stunt director, I think, in the real world.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh
Can
yeah.
I have more than one?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I did. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the name of the dog.
Dog. In the episode where all the dogs are monsters. I feel like that was last season.
No, all dogs go to heaven.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lucky.
Yes. That's not my first nomination. My first nomination is Genevieve.
Okay, there we go.
And then my second nomination is Lucky.
I do think us having 3 French Mistakes nominations is very funny. Sam's awkward, Genevieve.
Okay, as much as I really
wait, I have one more.
Oh, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Bobby John, the baby.
Oh my God, Bobby John, the baby. And honestly, I think that
just for the name alone,
the reason he would get my vote is just because of the name. The kid didn't do that much.
Sam and Dean are it's a baby. What are we gonna call him?
Bobby John.
Bobby John. I think giving this to Misha is really is where I'm sort of leaning. I know my nomination was for Eric Kripke, but Misha, I do think Noah's argument is convincing.
I think I agree.
I was willing to give it to Kripke, but I do think Misha deserves it.
I think Misha is better.
Yeah. The actor man.
Shout out Misha Collins. We love you.
Yeah.
Come on our show anytime.
Anytime. Our next award is going to go to the best female character of this season, and that is as wide open as it sounds. Can be any character who's appeared any number of times. It does have to be a character that has appeared on screen, not just a mentioned character.
Oh, okay, on screen, even if they have a voice.
Voice is fine.
Okay,
Voice is fine. I would still consider that on screen. I just mean it can't be like we had a conversation about Mary, so it's Mary.
Like,
it's like
Joe can't show up in this because Joe was
She's
only
only talked
mentioned
about.
as a side. Okay, yeah, fair.
Yeah. Not that I think that any of us would nominate someone who's not appeared, but just want to make that.
Well, okay. I had a slight joke nomination because Sarah Gamble only shows up in a phone call. And we hear her talk some shit about the boys, or Jared and Jensen specifically, and
that is a funny nomination.
That is
a lot of
funny.
the series, and I do
That
like.
is a funny nomination.
They weren't my honest nomination for this category.
My nomination is Lisa.
Okay, I like it. I support it.
Yeah, I also have a really hard time nominating anyone other than Lisa. This season is real short on female characters.
Yeah.
And Supernatural is already bad at that.
Yeah.
Another potential nomination could be Gwen.
Ugh.
I think she's a great character that gets really shit on by the narrative.
Gwen.
Also, Meg is also in this season, and Meg is great. I do think Lisa kind of like.
I feel like Meg can win another season.
Oh, I like that. Okay, cool.
You know,
Thanks, Sam.
Like, this was not her season.
So you can't say things like this. No one doesn't know who characters come back.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I mean,
we support it. Okay.
I forgot. I'm so sorry, Noah.
I love it. You're a wholesome being, and I respect it. I have to nominate Ellen because she shows up in one episode. I don't think that she was treated the best by the narrative and how she was represented in that episode, but I think she was also great to see back, and she lived up to her own reputation. I wish the writers.
She's technically not even a real version of herself, though. She's
That's
technically
also
like
true. So Ellen AU.
AU Ellen.
Okay.
I also think that
my last nomination was Ellie.
Okay, that was gonna be my other nomination as well. Like, we've pretty much just named all of the significant female characters in this season.
And
Most
Sarah
of the
Gamble.
named female characters in this season.
Right.
Yeah, that are not like one-off characters or
Fuck.
like monster of the week or victim of the week.
Yeah, I think I would have to give it up to both of you that Lisa deserves this season's award.
Yeah,
because she goes through the most.
And she does, and she like takes control of her own life as much as she can.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes control of her own life as much as she is able to.
She puts up boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has them ripped down by people outside of her control, which we fucking hate. But
and the fandom is not, and honestly, like, the fandom is not nice to Lisa. And
I know, I never understand that.
No, it's because any woman in a relationship with one of the brothers,
right,
ends up getting just a ton of sexism thrown at them, including the actors. Like, I was at a panel.
It's fucked up.
And I was listening to the actor who plays Lisa talking about what that experience, like, talking about that, and yeah, like, it was rough for her. And now I think she's experiencing more like a better fandom experience now. But when her episodes were airing, like, there were some really nasty people in the fandom, and that's,
it's too bad.
Yeah, and I want to just,
but I don't know. Okay, maybe if you don't like her character, like, you can at least be like, okay, she's a good actress.
Respect the craft.
Yeah,
like,
and you can
nice.
like not love the storyline, but you can call it the storyline without like being sexist about it.
If you're gonna blame anybody, blame the writers. Like,
exactly. Get mad at the writers if you're mad.
It doesn't even make sense to me. Even
she didn't write it.
Like, the worst characters that like I've hated in television or movies, like, I never hold that against the actor. Like, I hate John Winchester to death, but I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Like, he's such a great person, and he's got so much depth to him, and he's got such skill that I don't hold John Winchester against him. I don't hold the comedian against him, but like, I don't even hold Negan against him. As much as I love Negan, he's a great character, very well written, but like, he's a shitbag. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan brings his all to every role, and it's not too hard to respect that, but also hate the character. Grow up. Yeah. I think that's what we're saying. Grow up. Hate writers? No, don't hate writers, but like, call them out on shitty mistakes.
Right. You can say the writing's bad without like writing off an entire character.
Or making death threats. Like, don't do that.
Like, don't do that. Don't do that.
God.
And also, I think Lisa just gets like wildly misunderstood as a character as well. Like, I think people think, and also like, I think, I don't know, one thing that really helped for me, like, in my interpretation of Lisa was once I started to see that like her and Dean's relationship is more about like the idea of like this heterosexual, like, safe relationship more than it is about them actually like deeply being in love with each other. Like, it's more about the idea of this apple pie life than it is about, you know,
the illusion
chemistry
of family rather than
it's about the family and like like Ben and
yeah. And I think that helped me like appreciate like Lisa's writing for like and her story for what it is, rather than looking for chemistry between her and Dean that frankly like really isn't there.
Yeah.
Which if we were looking for chemistry, all we need to do is look to Cassie season 1, Cass season 4. Like
yeah, that's pretty much where the list starts and ends in terms of like long-term chemistry for Dean right now. So
anyways,
Lisa,
congrats to Lisa. Let's go.
Okay, our next award is for funniest character.
Ooh.
And again, this is like any character that shows up, big or small, funniest.
How much of an impact did they have on making you laugh this episode, this season, this episode? Okay. Okay, I think we got to clarify that if one person shows up in one episode and makes you laugh so much, that holds a lot of significance over people who made you chuckle throughout the whole season.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It could go back and forth.
Right. There's arguments to be made for quantity over quality or quality over quantity.
Yeah. I respect it. Yeah.
It's just about the argument. With that in mind, I'm going to say Crowley. I still think every time he's on screen, he's fucking hilarious.
That was mine too.
The bangers.
I was going to say Balthazar.
Okay.
Also very valid.
He was third on my list. I love it.
Yeah.
That's tough too, because I'm like, I think Crowley made me laugh more times.
But Balthy was in less episodes and still made you laugh just as much.
I feel like Balthazar made me laugh every time he was in an episode.
Yeah, same.
I feel like Crowley made me laugh every time he's in an episode. But also, I will take the L on this one.
I also want to throw out Dean for this season.
I think he's gotten nominated every single fucking season. I think he's won once.
He's really good at those one-liners.
Seasons he's won one. Has he ever won it?
I think he won once, at least.
He won one of the early seasons.
I mean, Bobby also.
Bobby's hilarious in many episodes.
And Bobby's snarky in this season.
Bobby has so many one-liners that are just, the snark is very good.
Me personally, I feel like Crowley was hilarious and I love him so much. But I really want to give this one to Balthazar because he really was having me chuckle every line he had. Like he threw out stuff about Dean and Cass being boyfriends. He threw out stuff about Bobby and how old he was. He threw out stuff about Sam and Dean being way too dependent on each other.
He makes the kind of jokes that like he's not just like funny in a general sense. He's funny in a specific. He gets under your skin and he says the thing that everyone's thinking, but he's like pokes at it and he makes a joke.
He says the thing out loud, and the whole thing with the Titanic too is just.
Oh my God, yes. Him being like, so anti Celine Dion and that
he's like, I'm not gonna sink the Titanic. He's like, I'm gonna.
I think he deserves it, especially since he bit the bullet in the last episode.
Yeah,
I think that
gotta honor him.
The angel blade.
The angel blade bit the angel blade.
Bit the angel blade. All right.
Hey, congrats, Balthazar. Woo!
Nice.
Next up, we've got the best ancient character, and this is a character who is over 100 years old and less than infinity, I guess. There's
so many. So like all of angels and demons are basically ancient
all
characters.
Angels, demons, a significant amount of monsters.
Most of the monsters.
Really, we need a best angel and best demon character. Do we not have a best angel and demon category?
I don't think we've got enough significant demons to qualify that.
I mean, we had Meg and Crowley.
Okay, so 2.
And Ruby.
Ruby's not in the season.
We got fake Ruby.
I know,
but
before.
But before,
well, that's what I mean is they have to appear in the same season.
I don't think we had Meg and Crowley and Ruby in the same season. Did we?
We did not.
No.
So we've only ever had 2 noteworthy demons. We've had
that's
plenty
fair.
of
Maybe
angels.
Maybe I'm projecting into the future of this category being one that we may add in the future.
I respect that. At this point, they're both combined with the monsters because I think Ellie deserves to be on this list barely because she wasn't that helpful besides the dragon episode where she gave him the sword and whatnot. She really did lean into her own sort of stereotype where she was like, I'm different than all y'all, but also I fucked Bobby at one point, and also I'm strong enough to survive on my own. And then she wasn't, which hurt a lot. But
yeah,
R.I.P.
She deserves to be on the list at least.
She definitely does. I also think like we had the alpha vampire, which I think is such an interesting like ancient character.
Yeah. I respect it.
And also Eve.
Yeah. And I thought that I don't remember what kind of monster she was, but in the You Can't Handle the Truth, was she a
Oh,
goddess?
Oh, Veritas?
Yeah, she was a goddess. Yeah, she would absolutely
Yeah, I
qualify
thought she
under
was a really
this.
interesting character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. I mean, I have to throw two of our nominees in the last category on here. I've got Crowley and Balthazar.
Yeah.
They're just fantastic characters who are both super old, and let that be known through most of their conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
True.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't include our very own Castiel in this category. So, any other nominations on this? Okay, 'cause we've already got 7 nominations here, and we're gonna have to narrow that down to 1. This might be a little tough.
I don't know where my vote's gonna go on this
I'm okay
list.
with.
My vote's Ellie.
Okay.
I do think Ellie is like is a good pick for this season. Like I think she has a big impact on the story, and she is
Yeah,
and she comes from purgatory, which is like the whole thing this season is like monsters from purgatory, and they're trying to crack open purgatory, blah blah blah, purgatory. Like
yeah, her backstory is fascinating.
I think I want to give runner up to Veritas
yeah.
because their episode was really good, and it was mostly on the writers for not making the most of that episode. You know, if they had made it more impressive or more
it could have been so much cooler.
They could have made it on this winner list. But okay, congrats, Ellie. Moving on.
Our next award is going to go to the scariest character or monster. The main criteria for this is that you have to be able to interpret them as a like scary character and or a monster. They do not they can be human. They don't have to be, but they can be.
Okay. Sam, you got anybody for this this category?
I mean, this might be controversial. I feel like this is going to be controversial.
Okay, I was holding off my vote because I thought it was controversial, but now I'm curious if we have the same one.
Well, I think, in my opinion, Cass is kind of scary.
I was expecting at least one of you to say Cass, and I was like, none of us says Cass. I think that has to be
I'm so proud of you, Sam. That's the only name I have written down on my notes.
Yes, okay, great.
He is kind of the scariest thing, and and we talked about this when Eve got taken out. We talked about how like easy it was for them to take out Eve because Eve's not the final boss of this season.
Yeah,
turns out Castiel's the final boss. Whoops.
Like he is definitely the scariest.
We definitely talked about it in the finale, but like this is a terrifying move from him to be telling them all season, hey, trust me, it's okay, and preying on their belief in him, even when they have doubts. He's preying on Dean's belief in him to make huge moves, knowing the whole time that he's going to betray Crowley and take all the power for himself and then become the new god. Like, it's terrifying. Having that much faith in somebody and then them letting you down in the end.
And someone have such a huge turn of their character arc, like from in a single season to go like we've seen Cass and like Cass with the best of, because like this is not about like the best villain. This is about like the scariest character, and like Cass's arc going from like the best of intention to I'm willing to break down the wall in Sam's head to keep
Dean occupied.
Scary how what he's willing to do all of a sudden.
Huge.
Huge
the shift is scary.
And it's not that it's unbelievable, because like somebody who's lived really for millennia and being finally inspired to claim free will for themselves and then spiraling into, well, I'm going to take all of the free will for myself.
Ooh, that's such a good interpretation.
Like that's not it's not a terrible read of Cass's development arc.
He doesn't know what to do with free will.
Yep. And so he wants to control it in the worst way.
Right.
And that's terrifying.
The concept of free will like is what sort of like made him more human, but also gives him all of this power.
I think it's worth noting that he didn't get so terrifying until the finale. Like he was kind of off all season, but then the finale was when he really solidified himself as being terrifying and really worth being scared of.
Yeah, and then we're like, oh, we can see what he's capable of. And...
Yes, absolutely. So was there anyone else this season that sort of gave us the creeps for maybe more than one episode?
I mean, the alpha vampire is pretty...
That's true. He shows up
pretty
in two
He's in
episodes?
2 episodes. And like, you know, soulless Sam is also pretty scary.
Ooh, yeah.
Like that, you know.
True.
Just him existing out
Samuel?
there being that ruthless. Okay, yeah. Samuel. Fucking hate him. I feel like he's less scary because he's like so old. I feel like if he doesn't have a gun, any one of us in this chat could give him a good hit to the face and he'd be down for the rest of the night.
You never feel like he is scary because of the way, the influence he has on Sam early early on in the season.
Yes.
Not because he, like him, you get the impression that any of them could take him if they absolutely needed to. But like his impact is
it's the influence.
And his power, his like power over the other hunters is significant.
I want to throw out there the con worm is pretty intense.
Oh, good one. Yes.
And they're only there for one episode, but they do have such a power over making you paranoid and doubt people that you really trust and people you love. And it results in Rufus's death. So like that's terrifying. But I still feel like all these people on this list are honorable mentions because I think Cass really takes it.
I think Cass wins it.
Throughout this whole conversation.
Yeah, I think Cass is the best example of like a character like growing as a character's narrative shift. Our feelings about like how that character impacts us as viewers. Like he really goes from being like, oh yes, he's an ally. Oh yes, there's something suspicious. Oh yes. Oh no, there's actually some legitimate fear. And I think you see that in like the finale where you see the way Dean talks to him
right at the moment,
right after he's killed Raphael, and you see Dean sort of like cautiously talking to him, trying not. It's kind of like you're just, you're trying to talk someone down. You're trying to like not set them off.
It's like if you're speaking to someone on the ledge, but instead of being on a ledge, they are holding a weapon that could destroy the entire world if they're don't handle it correctly. Yeah, but it's also like a nuke that wouldn't hit you, because I feel like at that point he still knows that Cass loves him and like wouldn't do anything to hurt Dean.
Right, Dean's not in danger, but also Cass has made it very clear that pretty much everything else, including including Sam, is pretty much fair game.
Yeah.
Like
right. So Dean's not in danger, but everyone he loves is.
Yeah. As opposed to like earlier on in the season, where even like 2 episodes ago, where Dean's approach to Cass is like to sort of like either bargain with him or plead with him or even just like yell at him. Dean doesn't feel nervous to just like yell at him. And now by the finale,
different now.
By the finale, he's like very careful about the way he approaches talking to Cass.
Yes.
Because of all that power that Cass suddenly holds. I think that,
Yeah, Castiel takes it.
Okay. Massive awards to Castiel, the Lord. Whereas in prior seasons, we've given him Angel of the Lord. But now he's Castiel, the Lord.
Now he's not an angel anymore.
Oops.
By his own admission, not an angel anymore. He's the new god.
New god. All right. Our next category is best older character, and this is not ancient character, this is older character, so like 45 to 100 years old.
Okay, perfect.
Senior character.
Best senior citizen, but maybe not citizen because we can't put that restriction.
Rufus.
There we go.
Yeah, Bobby.
Thank you. I didn't have to say it, but oh my god.
Ellen.
I feel again like Ellen's presence in this
honorable.
I also want to like, as a sort of honorable mention, I don't remember her name, but the woman, Bobby's neighbor, the woman that brings him cobbler and is very sweet. Like, I think she also deserves an honorable mention.
Back in Weekend at Bobby's.
Yeah. I had her name pulled up earlier, but I've closed that tab and I'm not going to go find it again.
Okay. Bobby's neighbor.
Anyone else?
Bobby and Rufus were my 2 biggest nominations here.
Ellen, I think Rufus needs to take it.
I would like to give this one to Rufus. I think, just given, I don't know. I think he's like comes in as like a character we get to know a lot better in his episode.
Yeah. I wish he had more, but I do think that the one episode he is in, he totally dominates. He absorbs a lot of the screen time.
He really does. He draws a lot of that
narrative
attention.
Focus. Yeah,
the narrative focus. Yeah.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Rufus. R.I.P. Next up, we're moving on to most unlikable character. So this is someone that you loved to see on screen, but loved to hate them the whole time. And it frustrated you that they existed there. And sometimes it was a negative. Sometimes it was a positive.
This is weird. I feel like I don't have the same. Oh, never mind. Samuel.
Okay.
I was like, I don't know who to put here. I don't feel like I really like found someone super unlikable. Samuel.
I was struggling to think of anybody,
Samuel.
but I'm focused too much on the back half of the season.
Me too.
And
me
Samuel
too.
Samuel's absolutely it.
So I want to, this award could also be called most punchable character, like most punchable face, and it would also apply to Samuel.
Okay, yeah, that could also apply to Eric Kripke. But no.
No,
Okay.
Eric Kripke is brain I'd most like to study under a microscope.
Okay. Yeah.
Samuel is character I'd most like to punch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did anybody else have any other honorable
No.
mentions?
No.
I feel like
Just Samuel.
it's mostly, yeah, I think it's all up to Samuel.
Most of the like actual monsters this season I either found like interesting or boring. You know, like not really
Right.
deeply unlikable.
Like relatable in some sort of way. Like
Yeah.
what's it called when they're like really
Or you could empathize with them. Is that what you mean?
empathetic? Yes.
Right. Yeah, I
Empathetic.
found like villains this season didn't fall into the category of like unlikable for the most part. Or if they were more forgettable.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, congratulations, motherfucker. Samuel, you piece of shit. We hate you.
You won unlikable character, derogatory.
Glad you're dead. Finally. Fuck. We're back to hell because we all know you didn't go to heaven the first time. Now you're going right back to hell this time.
That's right.
The next award that we have, I love giving out this award. This is the award for the character with the most opportunity to change. Doesn't necessarily mean they did, but it's the character with the most opportunity to change.
Okay.
Most change potential.
This one's a hard one.
We usually end up giving this one to one of our main characters.
That's true. I feel like Cass is worth talking about.
Yeah.
But he specifically chose, like, I feel like he had the opportunity to change at the beginning of the season, and then he deliberately didn't take the most of that opportunity. He took it in a bad way.
I want to say Sam.
Okay.
Sam is not a bad
pick. We respect that. Do you mean post him coming back from hell or soulless Sam?
Both, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
Mostly post.
I also think Dean has a really interesting arc in terms of change because he starts this season as a civilian and has to kind of decide what path to take. And he ends up taking the hunting path, but there's a lot of like questions about that earlier on in the season.
Yeah.
True. That's a good point.
I kind of want to put Balthazar on the list.
Ooh, I like that a lot, actually.
I think if in the finale or even a couple episodes before, if he had chosen to support the brothers rather than trying to kind of support them, then I think he could have had a bigger opportunity to change throughout the season. And if he had owned some of the shots he had taken, then he might have had bigger respect on the long run.
Interesting.
I think, yeah.
But I do think we have to give it to, and it's not just who had the most opportunity to change. Sometimes it's the person who's changed the most over the season because they did have that opportunity and they took it. So I feel like we got to give this one to Castiel.
Yeah, that does feel like the right choice.
He really did change the most because of opportunities he was given by Dean.
Right. I guess this isn't change for the better.
Yeah, it's not necessarily change for the better. We might add to that category in later. Who knows?
Yeah, most positive growth as opposed to just like this is really general. Yeah. Let's give it a guess.
Yeah.
Honorable mention to Balthy.
Yeah. I respect it.
All right. The next one is character we'd most like to see back.
Ooh.
I like this one. I'm going to say Ben.
Yeah.
I want to see a grown-up Ben come back.
So fair.
Yeah, and like we've already talked about how this is the last appearance of Ben and Lisa, but like I can't really
it's a wish.
That.
I know it's not a reality.
I'd like to see
it's a wish.
I'd like to see Ben back. Like we know he's out there.
Yeah.
I'd have to throw Balthazar out on this list.
Right, but he's dead.
Yeah.
But he's an angel.
Okay.
So is Gabriel.
That's true.
And I can't give up
Gabriel
hope.
wasn't actually dead.
Well, but
we didn't know that.
We thought that Crowley was dead for half the season.
Okay, so you're just saying you're calling I don't believe
you're
it.
Calling bullshit on this.
Oh, bullshit. This is a Marvel comic right here. I don't think he's never gonna come back.
The supernatural effect.
Yeah.
Are you actually dead?
Who knows? August does, but another person I'd like to put on this list is Tessa, the Reaper.
Ooh.
Because I do very much like them every time they show up, and I'd like to see them again.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah, Tessa is the idea of Reapers and like the Reaper, the like lore around them is so interesting. Like every time we get more lore around like how death works in this universe, it's really cool. So like I agree.
Yeah. But I also very much do agree with Ben because he has the arc that I would like to see come full circle the most.
Yeah.
the
Right.
three of
He's
these
got the most
characters.
unfinished sort of story of these characters.
Yeah.
Like Balthazar,
Yeah.
as much as I would love for him to come back, he does kind of have he has his arc.
Yeah.
And it's a fairly satisfying arc. Like, as much as it's a tragic ending, it's a fairly satisfying arc of like him choosing which side to be on. And
which stay tuned for tragic character later, but
this one is like, we don't have to give this to just one person.
that
this
is
one
also
is
true.
very much, we all have these characters. You know, we'd love to see any of them back.
I'm gonna give my vote to Sam's pick of Ben.
Yeah, my vote is sticking with Ben.
I mean, that's if you had to make me pick, I would also say Ben.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there we go. Sebastian Roche, it's nothing about you. We get it. We love you. Come back anytime. We know you listen to the show. Anyway, congrats, Ben. We love you. Thanks. Sorry you'll never come back. Next up, we've got one-off character most likely to come back. This one was a lot harder to pick from.
Right.
Because there weren't that many like fantastic one-off characters.
There's not as many standouts this season.
Yeah.
Of like, you know, like we don't have a lot of those like sort of random character of the week that I just felt really attached to.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish we had seen more of Bobby's neighbor. I think she would have been fun to have back.
So fair. Do you think they're likely to come back? Well, okay. At this point in this?
No, I don't think so. I think based on the way they ended up that story, no, not likely.
Knowing the way that Supernatural works at this point, I want to throw out Misha Collins again. Because I think there's a slight chance they might come back to the real world at some point. I don't know.
I can't really give a good answer for this one. I say this every season, but this
any...
one is like Noah. This one's all you, Noah, because I know who comes back.
I like the Misha Collins.
Let me take another look at the list of characters this season. Oh, shit. Bobby John's father, Bobby John's mother, Bobby John's stepfather. Okay. Cool. Maybe H.P. Lovecraft. I feel like they could pull him off.
Ooh, true.
It's like,
that would be a fascinating one.
Got a lot of interesting stories out there, a lot of terrible views about humanity in general, but we don't have to focus on those. Oh, okay, wait, maybe Samuel Colt, because I feel like if they've got time travel on the board and we know that Colt created specific things that could kill demons, maybe they come back to him after Frontierland before he dies. Who knows? August knows, but we're not talking to August right now. Right? I'm not even looking up at their picture on the screen. Okay, so those are the real ones that stand out to me. And
okay, those are all some good thoughtful answers. I like all those answers. You have good reasons for all of those.
I think I want to give it to Samuel Colt.
That's one you think is actually the most likely?
The most likely of these four. I think Misha might come back at some point, but I'm not sure. I'm really uncertain about that one. Samuel Colt feels the most narratively, logistically correct. Bobby's neighbor, we can't even remember their names, so I doubt that they do come back in any sort of meaningful way. Lovecraft, I feel like they wouldn't go back to show him after they've already shown him being killed. So I think Colt has got to win it. Congrats, Samuel Colt.
Our next award is for the most tragic character this season. And that does need to be kind of contained within this season. Yeah. So if they've had a tragedy and it was in a previous season, doesn't count for the purposes of the season. Most tragic within the context of this season. I am going to say Lisa.
I was going to say Ben.
Gonna say Lisa.
Ooh, Ben might actually be more tragic because I feel like Ben might actually be a more tragic character.
Because Ben lost his biggest father figure. Lisa lost a partner that she loved for a couple of years at any given point.
And Lisa's brain is fully developed.
Yep. Ben is just coming into his own, and a lot of his formative memories are just erased, or they feel really weird because he's learning the lesson, but there's not the person there teaching it. And that's so whacked.
Right. Like this kid's going to know a bunch of things and be like, I have no idea why I know how to change a tire. Or like
fix this part of the engine. None of us know what the parts of the engine they were fixing are, but they know.
He's gonna have some like memories that aren't really memories. They're just like things that he knows.
Yeah.
Gaps in his childhood that he can't fill in.
Yeah. And like even if you don't remember trauma stays with you.
Yeah.
This is why I want to write a fix it fic about Ben, because I think that it's one of the like biggest like glaring things in the whole show.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's such a big gap there. Yeah.
Yeah.
It hurts.
I also think in terms of tragic character, Gwen also is high on my list.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. Ooh, that's a good
Absolutely.
Like her death particularly is just really like,
it's just for shock value.
yeah, and it's just to like kind of be like, oh shit, the con worm is inside of him. Like that's
Yeah.
pretty much
Right.
all you're finding out there.
That's
And
it. And that's the only episode that she's really brought back in the later section of the season. Like she's there for the first like maybe 2, 3, but as a side character at best. And we don't really learn more about them. When it felt like earlier, Gwen and Dean had a pretty good connection about how they felt about the hunting world. And they didn't really expound on that at all later on. They just killed her in the blink of an eye. When she was trying to come check in on Dean, right? Like that was her whole moment. And she was like, hey, are you okay? Like, let's chat. And then bam, done.
Yeah.
It's rough.
I do also want to bring up Balthazar again because he was somebody who was trying his best to just kind of stay out of it, but pick the right side at the same time. But also he didn't want to get too involved. And then he did, and then he paid the price. And that hurts. I don't think he beats
I
up
want to also
Ben.
give honorable mention to Rufus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he never got closure with Bobby. He refused to give Bobby the forgiveness that Bobby was looking for and trying to atone for, and they never got there.
Yeah.
And I get why, obviously. Like I respect Rufus for making that decision. I wish he had made a better one, but I respect it.
Yeah.
Okay, final thoughts?
I mean, I think Ben takes it.
Yeah, everyone else, I think there's some closure with their stories, again, with their narratives in a way that there really isn't with Ben's. Like Ben's is just sort of like cut short in a way. Like if I think about the concept of tragedy.
Yeah. He fits it the most, for sure. Yeah. Congrats, Ben. Sorry, it's all a bummer and tragic.
Yeah.
All right, moving along. The next one is character with the most interesting arc. I feel like there are a lot.
There's quite a few very interesting arcs this season.
Yeah.
Sam's arc is very interesting.
And I mean, not to jump right to the person I think is going to win this, but Castiel.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was lowballing it by saying Sam, because I think Sam's arc is interesting, but I do think Cass is more interesting.
Sam has a big arc.
A huge arc that is very interesting and it's worth paying attention to. And the way that Jared acts it is very, like, it's phenomenal. He lives up to that, doing the soulless thing and then acting like he himself again. But Castiel, Bach.
Yeah.
Going from the angel who is leading the revolt against heaven's stigmas and what they want them to be, to being the new god who's going to set up a new structure of power. Like,
and it's so well told. Like I think that's what that they do that so well in this season, is they tell that story of Cass's sort of downfall in just a really interesting, like, well done way. And I think that's hard to do. It's hard to tell that kind of an arc without making us sort of dislike. Like we don't dislike Cass. Like I don't hate Cass by the finale. Like I understand where he's coming from, but I also am like, you are turning yourself into the villain, but that's sort of sad. Not, you know, like.
Yeah. Maybe we were remiss by not adding Cass to our list of most tragic characters, but oops. It was
we don't have an
interesting.
ending we don't have an ending for Cass's arc though. I think if Cass had like died, that would have been a different story.
Yeah, but we would have known it wouldn't have stuck because wow, kill Castiel off. That's a later season thing. Won't happen. And as much as it hurts a little bit, I feel bad not including Dean on this list because I feel like the only thing he was doing all season was trying to protect his brother and trying to protect his boyfriend and trying to protect his father. And it wasn't, I loved it. It was great to watch, but it wasn't the most interesting arc of the season.
Yeah.
He didn't change that much. He didn't learn lessons.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think maybe like an honorable, Bobby could get an honorable mention because we get some Bobby, maybe not arc, but like we get some of his backstory, which is cool.
Yeah, which we haven't gotten in a while.
That was good to watch. And watching him go through the loss of Rufus and the loss of Ellie, like that
did give us some interesting stuff.
Bit. Yeah, I do respect that. But I feel like Castiel's got to be the winner.
Yeah, I think Cass gets it though.
I agree.
It hurts to award him that, but congrats, Castiel, the Lord. Next up, it's our favorite category. We're moving on to saddest death, which we do have to specify. They do have to die. Lisa and Ben do not count for this category.
Nope. That's why we have the trust tragic as a separate category.
Yep.
Yes. Rufus.
Rufus.
Phenomenal addition. Phenomenal.
Yeah. I think that in terms of my vote, it's probably going to go to Rufus. I did think Balthazar's death also very sad, but I do think my personal vote would go to Rufus. I was more sad at Rufus's death.
Okay, fair. Balthazar was maybe the most shocking death. Not in the moment, because like Cass and Misha's acting with his eyes, like it really showed that he already doubted Balthazar. Like, we get that. But like I wanted Balthazar to survive this season, and I wanted Rufus to survive this season, but like Rufus being killed by Bobby, I think that's gotta win him this. I would want to also mention Gwen in the saddest death, because hers is also overshadowed by the rest of the story and sort of out of nowhere. Not well deserved. Any other major deaths this season? Ellie, sort of, but like we only knew her a few episodes. I wouldn't count that as the saddest one.
Yeah, I was sad, but it would definitely, we didn't have the same relationship with her as viewers.
Yes, I agree.
Well then, R.I.P.
Go to
Rufus.
Yeah.
Okay.
This next award is one of my favorite ones to give out, and it is our award for our favorite queer character, and that is as general as we get in this one.
It doesn't have to be confirmed on screen. We just got to have picked up the vibe.
Exactly. And but we will try and keep it specific to like this season.
Yeah.
They did gay shit in a previous season. That's great. But like they got to have done it this season. We got to have the vibes this season for it to be.
My first nomination. It's got to be Balthazar.
Ooh, love.
I also want to nominate Crowley.
Yep.
He made a lot of jokes about him and Cass this season.
Oh,
a lot of jokes about him and Cass.
Cass being the bottom in the relationship. Like, yeah.
And he made a lot of jokes about Dean and Cass this season as well. Crowley is comfortable in his sexuality.
Yep.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons we love him. Talk to us more about Balthazar, though, Noah.
I think Balthazar made just, for his screen time, just as many jokes as Crowley did about Dean and Cass being like in love and them being just silly little boys. And it was his sheer presence on screen oozes sexuality, and it's not.
Yeah, it really does.
It's not gender specific. Like he's throwing it out at whoever is around, and he's like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. Maybe we'll fuck each other. Like it's whatever. Don't worry about it.
It's true.
It's just he's so charismatic, and I don't know, he's just got it. He's got that X factor. You know, there weren't that many confirmed LGBTQIA characters on screen this season.
No,
which is a little disappointing. Sarah Gamble, step up your game. Do better in your second season.
Yeah, come on, Sarah. Yeah.
Any other nominations? Dean
and Cass have a whole breakup arc going on, but I do think like this season it's probably gonna need to go to Balthy or Crowley.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
fair. I think I would vote Crowley because, like you said, he is very comfortable in his sexuality. And he makes it known.
That's why we have 3 people. So we do the tiebreaker, and it works. We support it.
Crowley.
Congratulations to Crowley. Woo.
All right. Next up is Best Hunter. This one's interesting.
This one's a very fought over category in the season, in many of the seasons.
Well, do we mean like Best Hunter? What do you mean by best?
That is up for interpretation. That is why it is such a hotly contested one, because it's like who's best at all of the pieces of hunt.
Yeah,
because if it's just like catching monsters, I would say Soulless Sam. But the lack of empathy doesn't make him a good hunter.
Yeah. And I think that
but then that's the question of what's a good hunter.
But then it's like, what's a good hunter?
The scene we get in the finale with him killing that one lady, Robin, just to get at the demon, I think that argues away from him being the best hunter, because I think the best hunter definition varies a lot of the time, but I think it's who can save the most people from monsters.
Right.
You know, like
it has to be you have to remember the saving people part of the saving people hunting things.
Yes, correct.
That's totally
Sam leans too far into the hunting monsters part and not enough into the saving people.
Right.
But I think it's a great addition to the nomination. That was my first nomination as well, so I get it.
I think we see Dean, we're reminded of his skill as a hunter when he comes back to hunting, and he talks a little bit about being rusty, but he really isn't. And I think we've seen again his sort of instincts when it comes to hunting are as sharp as ever
That
after a year
whole
away.
scene where he goes into the alpha vampire's lair and like brutalizes the lot of them, like yeah, he does a lot there. And then whenever he goes to rescue Lisa and Ben, like he nails that.
Mm-hmm.
And he fights his way down there when Sam is incapacitated. He does a lot there for them.
Yeah.
Got to throw out Bobby because Bobby lets himself be known.
We see Bobby in more hunts this season too.
Yep.
Like he's
and
in the hunts as opposed to
this season.
Yeah.
Which is cool. We haven't like he's in the hunts more as opposed to just like on the phone or providing support.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually investigating with them in disguise, giving lies to people. Like, yeah, we love to see that. I feel like there was one point this season that really solidified that. I feel like there was a moment like in season 4 with Swap Meet, we took the award that season away from Dean because he didn't notice that his brother was swapped with a teenager for so long. I feel like there was a scene this season where Dean didn't pick up on something that we claimed he should have.
I don't
can't remember
remember
what it was.
I think I would almost argue the opposite in terms of this season because like Dean's radar for like something is wrong with Sam is significantly better than like Bobby's radar. Like Dean is the one that goes, not my brother. Something's wrong.
Not him.
True.
And like Bobby doesn't spend a ton of time with Sam prior to that, but Bobby does interact with Sam during that year.
Yeah.
And Bobby's like Sam's different, but he attributes it to hell, whereas Dean is the one that is like, that's not my brother. Something is not, it's not just like hell trauma. And I think that is like Dean's instincts continue to be really consistently good.
Except for whenever he gets turned into a vampire and then goes back to visit Lisa and Ben and then shoves Ben against a wall and that whole situation. Like,
but that's I would argue that's not good, but also like he's a vampire at that point.
Like his mind's been
Does that really count as Dean?
Well, it does count as Dean, but I think I wouldn't necessarily attribute that to like him as
if
a
anything,
hunter.
I think it detracts from Soulless Sam because Soulless Sam lets him get bit.
Yeah, that's the point.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. Shit, I think it's got to go to Dean this year.
Yeah, I agree. And we also like see him like that in that whole scene with getting Lisa and Ben out, like, and him coaching Ben through hunting. Like that's a real hunter.
That's arguably a real strong like.
But wait, I think that just brought up the fact that Dean convinces Castiel to remove all of Lisa and Ben's memories of him from their lives, which makes them way less prepared to deal with the supernatural creatures if they do come after them again. And I feel like that's a terrible hunter move on his part.
It is. It just doesn't.
It is.
It's just a terrible writing note. Oh, I don't know how to get around the fact that it's just such a terrible writing.
Are gonna have some hunter moves that are just not great.
That's fair.
I'm not sure that we have a better argument for someone else. That's the thing is I'm not sure that even with Dean's like mishaps this season, I'm not sure that
okay, that's fair. Let me make one last pitch for Bobby as the best hunter because I think that Bobby has spent after getting Sam and Dean back together, he does his best to try to get them to work together and figure out how they can do that going forward.
That's true.
And then in his solo episode, he does his best to keep every hunter getting together. And then whenever he gets back with Rufus, he's like, hey, bud, I know things are fucked up and maybe we try to work together. And then whenever they have a moment alone, he tries to apologize to Rufus honestly and genuinely. And Rufus refuses it. We get that. No big deal. And then as the rest of the season goes forward, Bobby tries to get Dean to realize that something is fucked up with Cass and they can't trust him. And Dean refuses, and Bobby accepts that, but is also trying to not keep the door closed. You know,
that's
he's like,
true.
Hey,
Bobby does have sort of a sense of like I'm leading the crew a lot of the season, which is a kind of a shift from like Dean in previous seasons because Dean's got so much going on because Dean is split. His focus is split because of Ben and Lisa. I do think that is a strong argument for Bobby in this category.
But I think Bobby's biggest mishap is in episode 1 when he never told Dean that Sam was alive.
Mm-hmm. But that's like not a hunter move. That's a like that's like just
that's a love move.
That's just like that's just not kind to your kid move.
And then Dean's biggest mishap is in Let It Bleed, where he removes Lisa and Ben's memories. And so if we take those 2 episodes out of consideration, Sam, who do you think does the best hunter job there? This isn't
Why
pick
am I
between
the
August and
decider?
Noah. It's pick between Dean and Bobby. Okay, just so you know.
I think that I would say Dean.
All right, there we go. We have our
We respect
answer.
it. We respect it. Okay, well then now we get to move on to yet another category that we've created just so Bobby could get a win in a season.
So we might,
And yet again, me personally,
Ah.
Bobby's biggest stan is concerned that he's probably going to lose this one. But no worries. We've got best networker.
Well, who else networks in this season? Like,
Okay.
I mean,
Samuel.
Soulless Sam does.
Soulless
But Soulless Sam mostly works with Samuel. I think Samuel's doing the networking in that
Rich too,
scenario.
maybe it's Samuel, yeah.
Like, I think it's Samuel more than Soulless Sam
I agree.
in terms of networking. Booby.
It's the second time I've written Booby as Bobby. Sorry.
Every time I
Oh,
gotta
do
write
that all
Bobby.
the time.
It's so frustrating. Okay, but I think Bobby is obviously has to belong on this episode, if
Yes.
not alone for the Weekend at Bobby's episode. But
Oh, I want to give it to him because of that. Like, I think that.
But I do think that Castiel deserves a mention on this list because he works with
Ooh.
Crowley.
Crowley might as well.
True.
Crowley,
Wow,
yeah.
so many.
Because like we didn't specify with this award. Like, it doesn't have to be networking for a good cause. It could be
Nope.
networking for a bad cause.
Yep.
And Crowley plays
Cass
both
and Crowley
sides.
both do a
Crowley,
lot of
I think,
networking this
might
season.
gain the leg over Cass because he makes the move to work with Raphael at the end.
True. That was a big
he
move.
is playing all the demons. He's playing Cass and half of the angels, and then he's also playing with Raphael.
Ooh,
So he
Crowley.
might have the best
Maybe
network.
Crowley wins it.
But
I'd vote
I want to give
Crowley.
effort. I want to give effort
also
to
vote
Bobby
Crowley.
because Bobby is giving his heart and soul into each one of these connections.
As a hunter, Bobby, like for Weekend at
on the
Bobby's
good
alone,
side,
Bobby
yes.
like deserves
For
those
sure.
points. As a whole season,
Crowley convincing Cass to lie to the brothers about burning him alive. Like,
it's good.
it's a good move on Crowley's part.
It is a good move.
I think we got to give it to Crowley.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby. Love you.
That's going to bring us to our final award of the season, and that is the most valuable player, the MVP of this season.
Okay. Before we get to the strong suggestions, I've got to nominate Bobby's facial expressions because he was
Amazing.
really carrying so many of his scenes whenever he saw Cass and Dean interacting, and he would give the side eye like, okay, so we see what's happening here. Like, guys, okay.
Yeah.
And whenever he dealt with Rufus, and then whenever he realized he killed Rufus, and whenever he was trying to cover for people, and whenever he was investigating on his own and realizing that Cass was a step ahead of him, but he couldn't let the people he was interviewing know that. Like, he was like, okay. Anyway, just say it again for me. Thanks. I really think that he did a great job this season. Shout out Jim Beaver.
Agreed.
Dean?
I do think this season we do get like this season is so much told as like Dean's sort of point of view, especially the early end of the season.
Yeah.
Fair. The only argument I have against that is that valuable is a relative term.
Okay.
And so I think Castiel might be a great nomination for this because if we look at it from a different point of view, and it's like most valuable player, most player who impacted the story,
it's definitely Cass in that. This is Cass's story this
like, it
season.
can't be our opinion of the story and like how it should go, because then I would say Dean, but he also didn't do enough to stop Cass by the end of the season. So it's like,
and yeah, I think you're right that this season is about Cass's storyline, and like it's through Dean's perspective, but it's about
how heartbreaking it is to watch this happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not discounting Castiel's contributions because he stops Raphael from gaining power in heaven and starting the apocalypse.
Yeah,
again.
and that's the whole thing is he's
that's
trying
a great move. He stops Crowley from gaining more power as the king of hell. Like, that's also a great move. He kills Balthazar, which is not a great move, but he betrays his boyfriend and his brother-in-law and his uncle-in-law. That's also not a great move.
Yeah.
But he also thinks he has the right intentions going into it.
Yeah.
That hurts a lot. You know who's not on this list? at all. Fucking Samuel Campbell, that piece of shit. He did
Oh,
nothing.
yeah.
He did nothing good, nothing valuable.
No
He could
MVP for
rot in
you.
hell. Ugh.
0.
I
Nope.
also don't think, unfortunately, like I love Sam, but I don't think I can make an argument for him this season.
I agree.
I just don't think the plot is not about him. Unfortunately, he is like kind of continually taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like he's got a lot of storylines this season, but they're not
It's more about what happened to him rather than about him and how he handles it.
than what he's happening to. Like in terms of like happening to the plot, Cass. It's got to be Cass.
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations, MVP of season 6, Castiel, the Lord.
Every time Noah has written Castiel's name in this document, I need the listeners to know this. He's written Castiel, comma, all caps, the Lord, every time.
Yes.
Very true.
That's
Okay.
the end of our awards show. Congratulations
Yay.
to all the winners.
Woo. Well, that's the end of the awards ceremony. Now we get to move on to our episode mixtape section. Does anyone have a single final song?
Shit, I forgot that we had to do that.
Hey, you don't have to. This one's optional.
I do not have an extra song to add. I did not think of one.
That's fair.
I did not think about this in any sense.
I respect it, and I get it.
So sorry.
I would like to throw out End of the Road by Machine Gun Kelly and Black Bear.
Okay.
Not for a particular reason, but it feels like, at this point in the story, this is sort of the end of the road for Castiel and Dean's relationship. We know it's not in the long run, but they feel like this is where they're at. And I think it's worth talking about how this song sort of looks back on how people have bonded together and pushed each other apart and come back together and realize that they need each other, but also this is it. I feel like this is the end of the road, and I respect you for what you've done, and I also hate you for what you've done. And we gotta just accept that and move on. Sort of a sad.
I like that. I like that as a final song to like wrap up the season. I think
that's me too.
Fitting.
So good.
But if you do want to check out all of our season mixtapes, you can check that out on our website, queeringthingspodcast.com. And we'll have some links to our Spotify playlists, which are out now.
Yeah, you can also find all of our social media and our Discord server and everything else right there. If you want to send us a voicemail with theories, mixtape suggestions, theme suggestions for season 7, we would love to hear them. And you can send that to us through our website, through our email, through our Discord, however you want to get them to us.
Beautiful. That's all we've got for you today, guys. Oh my God, this was a fantastic episode. Thank you all so much for joining us for season 6, and we're all so very excited to have you with us as we jump into what I've heard is the much beloved season 7. Thank you, August and Sam, for coming on this episode. This was a great time.
Always.
Thank you.
Love it.
Also, if you haven't had a chance to check out our Queering People Saving Throws, which is our D&D adventure game, it has our main Queering Things crew along with KJ of Supernatural Opinions, and we release it every other Friday right here on this feed, and it is really fun. Queer chaos, and Noah is an amazing CM, and it is so fun. You should go listen.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good time.
And if you hate it, let us know. We will take some of that into consideration. But not all of it. Just let us know. We'll be glad that you listen. But anyway, be sure to ride along with us next week as we start season 7 with episode 1, Meet the New Boss. As always, through the theme of family. Woo!
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Thank you all for coming along for the ride, and we wish you a peaceful road until we meet again.
Woo!